welcome to another Beyond Sport podcast. I'm Mark, and once again, I'm delighted to be joined by Craig and Nath. And today we are joined by our student host, Josh. Now, today's guest is a lady who is very much involved with blogging, particularly around lifestyle, parenting, mental health. She is a keen ambassador for a number of different charities looking at the importance of looking after your well-being, looking after your mental health in particular. A lady who is a big presence on Instagram as well as the internet, and that is Susie Weaver. Susie, how you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Now, Susie, we'll talk quite a bit about different things, but I'm keen to know in particular, in 2016, you launched your So Happy in Town blog, which primarily started with lifestyle, parenting. How did that come about, and what got you into blogging in the first place?
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't actually know what a blog was back in 2016. I'd never been someone who'd really followed them. And I love writing, and I've been writing various articles for Huffington Post and sort of local publications on parenting, lifestyle, mental health. And I absolutely, I just love writing. So it's always, sort of a hard slog trying to sell your ideas and get editors on board. And this friend of mine said, have you ever thought of, starting a blog? I said, what's a blog? And she read quite a few different blogs. She thought, you can create your own platform. So I looked into it and thought that is actually a great idea, because I can then write whatever I want, any subject, any week. And, I always thought even if few people read it and it touches a few people, then that would be great. So that's how I got into blogging, and it just went from there.
Excellent.
Since it's been around 5 years, you personally, what do you think's your biggest achievement, or the moment that made you the proudest of what you've been doing?
Yeah, definitely the mental health campaigning that I've been doing. That's the thing for me. The blog it's always been like my baby. I love it, and I love the writing. As soon as I started writing more about my mental health and my struggles, because that was a big thing for me. I hadn't talked about it till about, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, having first been hit by mental health struggles and depression, anxiety in my early 20s. So I'd really not felt able to talk about it until I wrote a post, my first post about that, and it was just very honest, and I was really nervous about pressing that publish button, but I thought, if I don't do this, then this is what it's all about. This is if I can let even a couple of people realize that it's okay to feel like this, it's nothing to be ashamed about, it's really good to reach out and talk, then that could help someone. And as soon as I did that, people I knew who I'd known for years, I can't believe you were struggling all that time and we didn't know about it, and actually I've struggled at this time, and none of us knew that anyone else had any struggles, because we were always putting this brave face on everything. And then lots of people who read my blog then contacted me saying, I'm so grateful that you wrote that, and we're talking for the first time about their own struggles. So that's when I realized this is kind of the direction that I really, really feel passionately about, and this is the kind of direction I want the blog to go more in. And then of course I started my campaign. It came from the blog being called So Happy in Town, so I thought I'll play on the word, not from the minute saying it's okay as in it feels okay, it feels absolutely dreadful at the time, but it's okay because there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's okay because you're not alone. It's okay because it's really good to talk about it. So I decided to start this campaign with t-shirts and hoodies, and that sort of, again, I thought if I could sell 5, 10 with 100% profit goes to young minds, because I feel passionately about young people's mental health, then that will be a great achievement. And then it's just snowballed actually from there, and it's sort of all tied up in the blog. So that would be the thing I really feel the most proud of in the last 5 years.
You've sort of just touched upon the t-shirt and hoodie campaign. So obviously that launched in 2019, and you've had a massive uptake in terms of the celebrities, athletes taking part. Why do you feel it's so important for them to expose what you're wanting to get out there, the message the message you're wanting to show?
Well, they have huge audiences, which is amazing. So the minute someone like rugby player Joe Marler puts on that T-shirt, he's reaching, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. And, you know, these women and men are real role models. And if they're saying it's okay to have struggles, and we all wrongly think, I think people like that have got everything sorted, you know, they're elite sports people, they're at the top of their game. How could they ever, you know, doubt themselves or have any mental health struggles because, you know, they've got, you know, got adoring fans, they're playing at international level. So if you get someone like that saying it's okay, then that can just have such an effect on so many people who look up to these people and go, well, they're saying it's okay, and I've been feeling, you know, I've been really struggling, then it is okay. I am not alone, and it can, you know, it can touch anyone, mental illness. So that having those people on board has just got that message out there, you know, far and wide, which has been amazing.
Fantastic.
Excellent, Susie. And you kind of mentioned there about obviously all the profits of that going to young minds and the work that you're doing for that, but you're also a Black Dog ambassador, is that correct?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, that it's an amazing new mental health support. It's online. It's all online, which I think is really important. For not everyone wants to pick up the phone, especially when you're feeling at your lowest. I think picking up the phone and talking is a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do, in this day and age anyway, not when we don't pick up the phone much. I mean, so to be able to just go online and feel like it's a sort of gentle approach. And the thing about My Black Dog is it's all the trained volunteers are people who've been through their own struggles. So the whole thing about it is it's talking to someone who gets it. And I think certainly when I've been really struggling, I wish when I'd first struggled in my early 20s, I could have talked to someone else who I felt had been through it. I felt completely alone and that nobody else had ever been through anything like this, which of course they had. But back then, I mean, we're talking the 90s here, the stigma was huge. So nobody was talking about it. You know, it was really branded. You were sort of branded, a bit of a weirdo if you showed any weakness mentally at all, which, we've come on a long way from there, which is great, but there's still a long way to go. But that's what, I think is really special about My Black Dog. It's talking to people who get it, and it's online, and I'm a really, really proud ambassador of that.
Excellent.
You've spoken about Young Minds as a charity and stuff and something you're raising money for. Sorry, sort of what do you feel about the importance of mental health and looking after your own mental well-being, and not just in all people, but especially in the younger ages as well? Like, why do you feel like that's so vital? I
think, especially in this day and age, the pressure the young people are under with social media, I think that's an extra layer of pressure that I never had growing up. I think the pressure of schoolwork is heavy now. Exams, friendship, peer, all that pressure is a lot for young people to take on. So I think it's really important to sort of check in on yourself regularly. If you can, put your phone away, turn your notifications off. I know it's really hard. I mean, I'm on Instagram a lot. I find myself, even at my age, I need to just put my phone away and not look at any accounts that don't make me feel good about myself, because there's a lot out there, where you look at them and they see these perfect images, but they're not perfect because nobody is perfect, and they're all filtered. But even I know that. I'm talking to you about it, and I'm sure you all know. I think none of us can help sometimes looking at it and going, oh God, my life, why haven't I got perfect house, or perfect kids, or what? And that is huge pressure, especially when you're young. And I think it's really, really important for young people to look after themselves, get out there, get out in the fresh air, exercising, eating healthily.
Kind of seeing the real world for what it is, as opposed to screen. Yeah, I get that.
Being present, I think, is really, really important. I think we all have this habit of being locked in this little rectangular world, which isn't real and can make you feel really bad about yourself and can really affect your mental health. And you see, well, not at the moment, it's lockdown, but before, I've got teenage girls and everyone's at this party, everyone at me, because there's just stories about it, there's Snapchat about it, and that would affect anybody. So that's a lot of pressure that young people are under. And I think if you can just put it away and try and be more present. I think it's something I'm certainly working on myself, and I'm sure you all are as well. It's just trying to just be in the moment and be more mindful.
I see like all the other teenagers in, say, like designer clothes and having the best skin or like the best hair, and then they go, I need to be like that, even they're trying to be someone else but themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a massive problem. I think seeing it with my own two daughters, that this is what I should look like, this is what these influencers look like, why don't I look like that? Why haven't I got this porcelain skin that they haven't even got, because it's filtered up to the nines. But it's hard for them to see that. It's easier, I think, as you get older, but it's hard at that age not to just be so caught up in that, to just look at yourself and think, I'm just not ever going to be good enough. Whereas instead of just thinking, I am amazing, I am me, I am so unique. And I think that's what all of us, since with social media and the pressure, lose sight of that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about social media and how like sometimes it can portray negative in this false image, whereas you've actually used social media, particularly Instagram, to really hammer home that it's okay to not feel great. It's okay to feel down at times, and you use it to put some really good quotes on, some really good advice, and certainly from following from you on Instagram. You talked a little bit about those strategies that you have in place, and particularly alongside the quotes and the good advice. What would you say are the main strategies to try and get in tune with your mental health and boost your well-being?
I think, Mark, that's a very good point about social media. I don't mean to diss it at all, because it's a wonderful thing if it's used properly. And I have found, especially during lockdown, the connections I have made there are so many amazing people out there who want to support each other, who want to help, who want to boost each other. It's community, not competition on there. I think I kind of personally got rid of any accounts that I was following that I didn't feel that about. And so it's become for me an incredibly positive thing. And of course, without it, like you say, this campaign wouldn't be what it is at all, because that's how it's snowballed. That's how it's spread through other people, positive people, past spreading the it's okay message in a really, really good way. The connecting with people that I feel I can trust and who are good for me and who support me, and reaching out to them and talking. Really, when I have bad days or bad, an hour, or just talking about that can really, really help. And I know it's not easy to do. I'm not saying it's just a walk in the park to talk about when you're not feeling all hunky-dory, but it really, really does help. So for me, on a daily basis, I'm reaching out. I do quite a lot of meditation. I exercise, for me, and you guys, I know, all be feeling the same, obviously, at sports college, but it is amazing for my mental health. Go for a run or a cycle, and it just picks me up massively, gets my endorphins going. So that for me is a big way of managing my mental health. But just and trying to, for me, stepping away from social media, being more mindful, doing things that I love, I enjoy doing, when you've got the time. So just, and checking in on yourself. I think just saying, actually, how am I really? And it's okay, not, because I used to beat myself up if I wasn't feeling great and think, what's wrong with me? Why everyone else seems to be great? But actually, it really is okay, because we're all human. It's normal. And no one, unfortunately, can be feeling brilliant all the time. It's just not life. So just to remind yourself that, and it will pass. It will pass.
light at the end of the tunnel, as they say, don't they? So
yeah.
And kind of want to touch on a little bit of kind of obviously through your website and all the campaigns you and all the fundraising, that sort of stuff. You've also got a day-to-day job. You're a teacher, is that correct?
I am a teacher, yeah. I am a teacher.
So let's let you know, and again, a great rewarding career, challenges along the way. How did you get into that, and kind of what sort of subjects you're teaching and stuff?
Yeah, I'm a primary teacher. I'm not actually working at the moment, but I went into, so I graduated from St Andrews University, and I went into the city, which was not anything, I sort of did an arts degree, so it wasn't really anything, but I just landed in it, as you do some of these things. Like, you know, I was on the trading floor, and it was great fun, you know, just full on. It was, yeah, a lot of fun, but a lot of hard work. But I'd always wanted to teach, really. And I decided that, you know, if I didn't do it when I gave up my job in the city, I thought, if I don't do it now, I can see this, you get sucked into things, don't you? And so I went to Kingston University and did my PGC in primary with French as my specialty. And so, yeah, I then embarked on my teaching career. I did 6 months in an inner city school in London as a TA to kind of really get a taste of it and see if I still wanted to do it. And amazingly, I still did go into it, because it's, as you all know, it's a very rewarding job, but it's a tough job, and I just always wanted to help children, and through my work as a teacher, that's where I've seen so many young people, you know, struggling these days, and how much help is needed, and more support is needed in schools and in colleges. I really hope the government will take that on board and get the funding in place, because I believe mental health should be taught about, you know, from an early age, not in a scary, you know, doom and gloom way at all, but in a really positive. We all have mental health. We're born with mental health, like we have physical health. We teach about physical health, but we need to be teaching them just about mental health and how it works and how you need to look after it, and how it's really good to talk about it, because I think then if kids start at an early age, it will really help them as they get older, if, you know, they do, because they will come, you know, life isn't all smooth, as I was saying earlier, there are bumps, and it will help them be able to deal with that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
Staying with you more personally, how have you coped in lockdown mentally and physically, but also having a family? Do you think that's helped you get through it, or made it worse with other people's, obviously having 2 kids, having responsibilities more on your shoulders?
That's a really good question, because it has helped in some ways, and it's also made it incredibly difficult in some ways. I've got 3 children, so 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old boy, so quite a range of different needs. You know, I've got a teenager who's going through all that stuff, and then a tween, and then my little 10-year-old boy who's primary level, so that involves a lot of sitting on online lessons with him, because he needs that help and this help, kind of the structure of it all. So, and then of course my husband and I are both trying to work as well, so it's been really, really intense in that way, because you want to just mainly make sure they're all okay, really be okay, you know. Obviously mental health for me is the priority, so it's looking at, make sure they're all okay, juggling all their needs, trying to get our stuff done, just finding space sometimes to breathe, to be able to think and not have someone going, Mom. But in other ways, so that's been hard, but in other ways it's been a real positive, because we have all been together, we've spent time we never would have spent together. You know, some people will be very alone during this time, not having all that distraction and the sort of family around them. So it's definitely, I feel the whole thing, I don't know if you feel the same, has been like a real roller coaster. I mean, I have days feeling, yeah, this is great. This is, you know, we're having all this time to be together and do things as a family. And then some days just like, oh my God, I'm really struggling. One of the kids is struggling, you know, my husband fed up. It's real ups and downs, isn't it?
Like a roundabout sort
It
of.
is, exactly, yeah. It's I described it in one of my posts. I think this is like we're all on this roller coaster, because I feel like you can be like almost high sometimes and then crash the next. Even like half days can be different, can't they? Like your morning can be really good, your afternoon could be like weird. So it's challenging, isn't it? But also there are positives. I personally have felt I have slowed everything down. I don't want to go back to that racing around, all commitments. Some of them I don't feel serve me. You know, I feel like I felt obliged to do things in the past which I have been taken away, and maybe I'll try not to feel like that again. And just I've worked on myself more, I think, because it's been more of a reflective time, and I think that's been a good thing.
So Susie, you reached out and you got help. You had the presence of mind to know that you were struggling, but sometimes people are a bit apprehensive about opening up or reaching out to people if they are struggling. What advice would you give to somebody who is struggling with mental health and not quite sure where to turn to and who to turn to?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Again, it's because it's really tough, and it took me a long time. I was struggling on my own. I think I felt I had to, because I was ashamed. I was ashamed that there was something wrong with me, and I at first didn't know what it was. I mean, I was 21 at the time, and everything on paper was great. You know, I was at university, I had friends, like course was going well. There was nothing, you know, that you might think would trigger something like that. It kind of hit me out of nowhere. So I didn't actually know what was happening to me. I was in and out of hospital, A&E, panic attacks, thinking I was dying. And I sort of went on like this, almost thinking like just really in a very dark place and thinking terrible thoughts, because I just couldn't see the wood from the trees. I couldn't see my way out of it. And I finally spoke to my mum, and I started speaking to her a lot. So that was the person that I spoke to. But I was even afraid of doing that, because I think you feel often you don't want to let anyone down, and you don't want to appear anything but you're absolutely fine all the time. I didn't want to worry her, but it got to the point for me where I tried to speak to a couple of friends, but I think they didn't understand, and I felt even worse, because the things they'd said, they didn't mean to be unkind, but was damaging, because they just go, I don't, you're scaring me, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And I thought, oh my God, like I really am so alone here. But my mum was amazing when I did get the courage to speak to her. And I know that is a really, really hard thing to do, but if you can, there's someone that you trust that you can talk to. And I can't imagine, you think they're going to think differently of you, but anyone who loves you and cares for you will do anything for you. They will be really gutted that you hadn't spoken to them. And, you know, many friends, when I started talking about it more, were really, gutted that they'd wanted, I would have helped you. I'm really sorry you didn't feel you could talk to me. And I think that first conversation will be the hardest, but the person will really want to help if they're close to you, because you can't imagine if someone came to you and said, you know, I'm really struggling. You'd never say, oh, sorry, you know what, I'm not interested in that. I'm not bothered. You know, I'm going to go get a pint, you know, just not. You would never do that to someone. So no one who you trust and you're close to would do it to you. And that first conversation I had, it was very hard, but it was the best thing that I did. And then we, you know, I actually went to my family GP, who I sat with for 2 hours and just talked and talked and talked. And I was incredibly lucky, because he just was brilliant and just listened. Because I think when you're in a really dark place, you just want someone to listen. Often you don't want solutions. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken, but you want someone just to hear you. And he did that. And then he prescribed me antidepressants, which I know is not for everybody, but it really got me out of a very dark hole at the time. So I think it's so important to realize how important you are and how important your mental health is, and therefore you to reach out it's an incredibly brave thing to do, but it's an incredibly important thing to do, because someone will want to help. And if you really, really don't feel you can do that, because I know some people they just can't do that, then there are charities out there like My Black Dog. Also, Shout is a texting charity where you just text. So, you know, we've all got phones now, and a volunteer will get straight back to you. Young Minds, they've got trained volunteers all the time, and actually they've got a parent line as well for any parents who feel they need help if they're seeing their child struggling. So that's my advice.
Well, that's brilliant. And as we start to turn towards a time now where there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, with lockdown, and sort of coming out of it and things easing, what are sort of your plans to like now sort of turn your head to and look forward to, and keep that mind occupied as we start to, like I say, head towards that light? And I understand like you love to travel and stuff like that. So what sort are you turning your head towards?
Well, I can't imagine ever traveling again. Can you? It's the strangest thing, isn't it? But we actually were meant to go to the States last summer as a family. My husband has got quite a few friends over there, and we were going to New York, and then we were going to go on to Boston and Canada. And it was kind of one of these like trips for a lifetime. And obviously that all kind of fell through. So we're hoping that we can go this summer. So that's the kind of big thing on the horizon. But I am telling the kids, you know, it might not happen. Don't be too disappointed. But it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because I know there's this light at the end of the tunnel, which is great. But I think a lot of people are also feeling anxious about that. And that's completely normal, because personally I feel, you know, wow, we're going to maybe get back to some kind of normality, but also a bit anxious about that, anxious about things I don't want to stop doing. I don't want to give up. I don't want to, like I said before, suddenly get back into that sort of rat race of racing around, doing things and not stopping to give yourself time to kind of breathe and do things to help your own mental health. And so I think a lot of people are feeling kind of mixed emotions, aren't they, about it? And as I always say on my Instagram and with that, and that's okay. That's normal. You're not alone if you are feeling like that.
And having them little things to look forward to is really good for your mental health as well. You know, having them little things that you want to enjoy and you want to get to that. And like you said, mentioned about having a trip to the States, like, oh, you've got that in the back of your mind that, right, that's what we're going to be doing, isn't it, Susie?
Yeah, I think that's really important to have some little thing. But even if it's like, that's one of the things I've liked about lockdown. Like really small things have become really important, haven't they? Like I think we've all appreciating like nature. I was going to say walks. I mean, walk every day at the moment. It's like I've only done enough walking, but there was things I never really did before, and looking around, and just small things like our coffee shop. You could actually go inside recently. You know, you still had to. It was all takeaway, obviously, and everyone's in masks, but you could actually go into the building and get your coffee, and it was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. If you told me a year ago that would be exciting, like really? But yeah, I think it's really important to have just whatever it is, even and seeing people. If it's like, for me, it's seeing my parents in Scotland who I've not seen for a year now, and you know they're quite elderly, and I just can't wait to hopefully, again, that's another thing, hopefully get up to Scotland this summer and see them. So yeah, it is important to have these nice little things to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of taking all this into consideration, and if you could go back in time to a younger Susie and kind of give that younger Susie advice on life, mental health, well-being and all that sort of stuff, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, I wish back then when I was struggling with it, had all things like this, that like you guys doing this amazing podcast every week. And I would, do you know what I'd say to myself? I would really say to myself that I would tell myself you know, you're amazing. You're getting through each day. You're strong. You can do this. It will pass. You are not alone. There are lots of other people out there. Of course, we didn't have any social media then, so there was no way of reaching out to people like that or knowing about any of these things. So that's why I think we've come so far, because my kids, you know, they do talk about mental health quite, you know, openly, which is brilliant. And I'm sure the students you teach do, it is something they're very aware of. I wish I'd believed in myself more, and I wish I'd felt, I wouldn't say I wish I'd felt braver to talk out, but that was hard. So I don't wish that would have been that, you know, that was just me being human, I think. But I wish I'd not worried what anyone thought of me. I used to worry far too much, and I know that gets easier with age, but I think it's something I see it with my own kids, you know, and again, it's this talking about this pressure from social media things. You just worry so much what everyone's thinking, but nobody is thinking about you. That's the thing I've realized. Everyone's too busy thinking about themselves. So just follow your heart and do what you want to do, and just don't worry about anyone else. It's your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be you. You're an individual, you know. Yeah. If you're into something and someone else isn't, that's fine. You know, that's okay. And I think that's an important message to have. Completely.
And also, you know, when you go to a class or something and I used to worry so much if I'd never done something before and I was turning up, I don't know, it would be a gym thing or whatever, or a sports club, and think, oh, everyone's looking at me because I'm the only one who's a beginner, or the only one who, but you're actually the bravest person there, because you're the one who's doing it for the first time, and you're the one that everyone be admiring, and actually nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. And just try things, like, just never have that fear. Just try new things.
Susie, we can't let you go without asking you about the hoodies and the t-shirts. Where can I get, or where can the listener pick up a t-shirt or a hoodie?
Well,
and support the charities?
You're all going to get, I'm getting you all in t-shirts, boys. So sorry, you can't get out of it. So we have hoodies, t-shirts. We're getting white t-shirts, and we're getting all sorts of new merch coming in. But if you go to my blog, it's www.sohappyintown.com, and the shop will pop up straight away. And yeah, 100% profit, as we've said, goes to young minds who need the support more than ever right now. You know, when people's donations are drying up over lockdown, you know, and they're helping more young people than ever. So we've made £23,000 so far, and it would be just amazing to make more. But also, if you go to my Instagram, it's at So Happy in Town. It's all on there. It's in the link in my bio.
Thank you.
No, that's brilliant, Susie. And again, that's a fantastic total that you've raised, and I know you're so proud of what you've done, and you should be. You know, the role that money raised will go to change so many lives and open so many doors in relation to people just speaking and having somebody to speak to about mental health, and just having that reassurance. So that is brilliant.
Thank you for having me on today.
That's been
come to a close, unfortunately. But Susie, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for the insight into, you know, you're open and honest and so true about what you were saying in terms of your own mental health and your own journey, you know, as a blogger, as a teacher, as a mom, you know, as a wife, and so many hats that you wear in your life. And thank you for taking the time to share all the good stuff that you do.
Oh, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all. And I hope, you know, even if these chats you're doing, I'm sure they do, if they just touch a few lives out there, and, you know, you're doing an incredible thing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susie. Take care.
I really appreciate that.
Thanks.